Welcome to SCE Talks. My name is Stefan Karlöv, and today I'm delighted to talk to Dave Hibbett from TGW and Emma Lindström from ICA. And we're going to talk about logistics, of course. We're going to talk about supply chain, and even more so, we're going to talk about a cold storage facility that you are planning and developing together. But I would like to start with asking you to introduce yourself. Please, Emma.
Yes, I'm Emma Lindström. I've been working with ICA now for 12 years, and prior to that I was working with Procter & Gamble, an American FMCG supplier for 13 years, and always in logistics. And now I'm the logistics director for like 4 years at ICA Sweden.
And that's what we call a big job. It's a big it's a big responsibility. I looked at
in Swedish terms, yes.
Yeah, I looked at your organization. It's quite large.
It's about 5,000 employees in total, and it's very nice to have it all across Sweden, from Helsingborg to Borlänge, and also some people in Umeå actually. So it's we have a big footprint across Sweden.
Yeah, you sure do. And David, please.
Okay, so David Hibbett, and I'm been with TGW since 2017, so about 8 years, but in a similar way, I have a pre-career, but I've always worked in automation. So I started 30 years ago when automation was relatively niche, and over the years it's developed and it's grown. And for TGW, I'm the CEO of Northern Europe, and I also head up for the group its growth and its market strategy division. So I'm responsible for trying to grow the TGW brand and footprint around the world. Yeah.
And now you've been present here in Sweden, where we are right now, for at least 15 years, I think.
I think exactly 15 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2010 we registered and came to Sweden, and it's been a great journey ever since, really.
It has, because from my point of view, it seems that it has been a little bit rocky over the years. But perhaps, it seems that during the last few years, you really, start to go very well for you.
I mean, the market for automation in the Nordic Scandinavian region is very strong. Yeah, so you've got all the right criteria. So, you know, you're relatively rich nations, developed nations, high education level. So the demands are there for automation. So we wanted to be in the market. Establishing ourselves takes time, because unfortunately it's a competitive field. And although you have brand recognition in your established markets, I mean, we started in Austria and the DAX region in 1969. So your establishment is given. When you come to a new market, you have to earn your stripes effectively. So we needed to go through that process, and it needed investment. But I would say in recent years, it's really starting to pay dividends. Yeah.
And the grocery business, like ICA, is one of your core businesses, core areas that you work within.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, TGW is a global leader in warehouse automation. But if you wanted to bring it to its core, effectively, if you wear it or you consume it, so consume it either by food or products in your house, TGW makes systems that move those products. So for us, grocery and the relationship with ICA, the movement of food is one of the key areas that we look to focus on. And we have other customers around the world, but that specialisation in being able to support those particular industries is something TGW focuses on.
Yeah. Before we talk about the cold storage project that you are developing together now, let's talk a little bit about the trends that drive the need for more automation certainly within the grocery business then, and the food retailing. What is driving this?
I think when we do we have a large operations. It's a big flows of products. It's very instant, and you have to make that as efficient as possible, of course. So we want to have operational efficiency, and automation is still the biggest opportunity we have, I think, to take out time and cost out of the supply chain. So that's one thing. But then also from a work environment perspective, manual picking in our warehouses is a very heavy workload, I would say. And to be an attractive employer, the more technology, the better, I would say. And automation is one part of that. And then also, I think, in this context, we can also hopefully control quality better and also be more customized for every store in how we over time develop our systems. Today, when you have a manual warehouse, you pick it in a certain sequence. But as time goes and we have automation and you have more data about the store design, we can actually be more unique in how we pick to different stores. And I think that's the future of it. But you need to start with the basics, and that's automation.
Is it difficult to get manual labor to your warehouses now?
Yes and no, I would say. We have learned that there are always people that need work, but you can't have too big of an operations, because then you kind of don't have enough labor on the local market, because really it's a local market for employment. You don't travel too far to go to work. So you can't. So I would say that 2,000 employees, and then it's kind of hard if you go beyond that to attract more people.
And you are to a large extent localized around the town Västerås in Sweden, but also in other places. So I guess you kind of suck up the people that you have.
There's a lot of people in Västerås that have spent a few years in our warehouses.
It's almost the ICA city here in Sweden.
Yes, I think ICA and ABB is very big in Västerås. Yeah.
Can you tell us briefly about other sites that you have, automated sites? Because you have done a lot, for instance, in Brunna outside of Stockholm, and in Helsingborg and so on and so forth.
We did Helsingborg in 2006. And then we had automation there. It's not fully automated to the extent that the freezer will be. There will be a very high level of automation in that, but it was our first step. And then we have done some minor investments in Västerås, so it's partly in some categories, pick by light and other solution. Pick by we have different solutions in Västerås. But this project in Västerås is very advanced, but also the case in Brunna for the e-commerce business that we have, it's also very highly automated.
What trends do you see in general is driving the need for and the demand for automation right now?
I think at a macroeconomic level, you've got, when you look at if you look at the developed nations, then the working populations are shrinking. Yeah, so you've got a problem of the working populations getting slightly smaller. There is also the type of work that people are looking for is changing. So I think that's starting to shape the need for automation. There's also, to be honest, if you look at the current climate of inflation, inflation drives it's a double-edged sword, if you like. On one hand, we're also a victim of inflation, because if it's more fuel-based inflation and oil-based inflation, then that drives the cost of what we do up. So that goes against automation. However, if it's wage-based cost inflation, then actually the business case for automation becomes stronger. So when people look, 5, 6, 7 years out in a business case and they're adding wage inflation, automation actually, as if you buy capital now, makes a stronger business case, because labour itself is becoming a more expensive way of producing. So, it does come back to the availability of labour. The cost of labour is at the centre of one of the key things of automation. But I think the other thing that Emma referred to, service levels. What's an appropriate service level in today's terms is different to what it was 20 years ago. So, as retailers look for more growth year on year, higher footprints through stores. They look at different SKU mixes. They want to replenish more frequently on the fastest moving lines. And these changes in the service level also, as Emma was referring to, you know, store unique planograms drive the need for automation, because to make it more simple and a higher service level in a retailer, you bring that complexity back to a central warehouse and you say, well, can you deliver that service for us? Because centralising complexity is just an easier way of dealing with it. And that drives automation. And it drives, but it can also be achieved through software systems. It's often seen as the robot solves everything, but it's a bit like the human body. You need some sensors and some dexterity in the body, but it's no good without a brain. So actually the software systems that are integrated with it also drive the complexity away and make these things, I think you referred to it flows. You've got huge volumes when you centralise all of this. So getting it to flow effectively, that it just feels like it's no problem in a very large volume, also necessitates automation, because at some point it just becomes too complex to have 2,000-3,000 people in these huge warehouses.
But I guess also the cost of living debate that we have in many countries, not the least in UK, is also driving the need for more efficiency to keep a reasonable price level to customers.
And I also think there is a big expectation from customers on convenience. They want innovation. They have different needs for vegetarian food, gluten-free food. They want exciting food from all over the world. So we have a huge assortment, and how do you handle that? And we need to invest in the market with new innovation all the time. And to afford that, you need to rationalize the base that you already have, of course. So I think hyper efficiency, so to say, that's what we're aiming for, to afford to invest what the customer is interested to buy. And also we have a huge investments to take in the future on sustainability and resilience. I think that's kind of what we have learned during the past 4 years, maybe, the need to build something that is robust and resilient for everything that can happen. And it's a little bit more like from just in time to just in case. We have to have different scenarios and so on. And we need to have money to invest also in that.
Do you keep larger inventory now than for a few years ago?
No, we don't. But we have a strategy to spread our inventory. So we don't want to keep all the inventory in just one location, for example. And also we talk a lot about dual sourcing from different suppliers. And of course, when we look at the site, we need to have robust plans for what happens if the electricity goes down and so on. We are very dependent on electricity today, just to keep the right temperature, of course, but also for automation. And then in the future, even more so because of the transportation, moving away from fossil and going into more electricity. So it's important.
So let's talk now specifically about the cold storage facility that you are building. Can you give us a little bit background? Because this started in 2021, I think.
Yes, starting in COVID, which I thought
Yeah.
it was an interesting way of starting a project.
And it was, as it often is, you had to fight for it.
Yes, you fight. You know, you have to build a relationship.
Yeah, build a relationship, and you did that over time, and finally you got it. You got the assignment.
Yeah, I think it is relevant to the COVID situation. So you have to fight, as you said. You have to fight, and you have to try and build a relationship, and you have to try and build trust. And you're trying to do that over a screen that's this big inside your spare room. And it was a very odd thing to do, because as humans we're built to make relationships in a personal way. I was stood here today.
You could send flowers or something.
Yeah.
That would
Just
not
joke.
be accepted by you.
Yes, yeah, it wouldn't be sent back. But it's a really interesting thing to have tried to do at the time, because you're trying to impression how you're professional and how you care, and you've got your values and how you go about how you do business as people as well as a company, and you're trying to do it through a screen. And we're so used to it doing it in a really one-on-one way, so we had to adapt to that. But I think it worked.
It obviously did.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about? You have told me before about this process, and you talked a lot about the importance of values here, and that you could really connect and have the same perspective of a lot of important things.
Yes, I do think that we can have processes and we can have a time plan and we can have a lot about the systems, but it's the people in it that makes it happen. And if you can make people connect and you can have common ground to build on, that's the whole difference, I think, from success. If you don't have that, you can have the structure and the business agreements, and you can have letter of intents and contracts, but it's all about the people making it work together.
And the technology and the price is, of course, important as
Absolutely,
well.
yes.
But is that more of a basic thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have in different projects assessed different technical solutions, so to say. And of course, I mean, that is one of the key things that we weight very high, is this solution fit for use for our operations, and compare it with others. But then if we don't believe in the culture and that we will have a good way of working together, it will take a lot to sign a contract like that, I would say. So it has to be both.
Yeah. And I know you work a lot with your culture. It's I mean, everybody wants to think that they have their unique, special culture, but in many ways you do have a different culture based on a foundation.
Yeah. TGW was started in 1969 by a founder who actually started the company because he had a company that made precast concrete, and he needed to make some machines that didn't exist for precast concrete. So he just bought a company. And after he'd made the machines that had conveyors and various things in, he said, well, what can I do with the company? So this is how TGW started and was built. The interesting thing is that in 2004, the founder became a very wealthy man through various companies he had started, and he became a philanthropist. So he put the company into a foundation, and from there is the basis. So we retain 70% of our profits into the business, which we use to train and develop people inside the business. And this is core to his idea, which back in 2004 was quite a fresh idea. And the balance of it goes into a foundation that supports charities, one of them being ours, which is Future Wings, which effectively develops young people in society. So it was all about the development of people. And it was a simple idea. If you develop people, they'll become clever, they'll solve problems, the problems which we've got in grocery, feeding people, clothing people, and you'll be able to make better systems, solve problems, and they will have better customers who bring money into the company that develop more people, and those people can develop better solutions for the future. And that concept still stays. So we're not a charity, but we're not a for-profit. We need to make profits to develop people, to grow the business, to try and feed the world and clothe the world.
Okay.
Simple idea.
You see similarities there, of course.
I think the Swedish culture is a lot similar in general, where we try to kind of say that the responsibility, the competence, and the ownership and the leadership is with the team that's working on it. And they have the answers. I don't have the answers. I can help to sort things out. I can remove barriers. I can take a chat with David if needed to kind of build some common grounds if something escalates, and so on. But we strongly believe that the competence is in the team, and we have to give them the right prerequisites to run the project successfully. And I think that's, that goes very well hand in hand in how you're working. I think they're working with this very successfully and very independently, and you and I, we are just happy. The progress is moving
That's what we tell everybody.
along.
We just need to be happy. Yeah,
Right now we're happy.
Yeah, right now we're happy. Yeah.
But that's really what we call Nordic management here.
Yes,
So it's part of our business culture here.
Yes.
So in that sense, there's a good match.
Yeah.
We talked about it, I think, earlier before we started. But I think the reason Northern Europe in TGW relates very strongly. We're quite liberally minded, and we're sort of believe in the society of people. So empowering our people is one of our values. And you're right. I could say I'm really clever at this stuff, but you can't be as clever as somebody who stood next to the problem.
No, exactly.
Yeah, so you just can't be, and they're the best people to deal with it, and if you allow them to do it, they're the most motivated people, because everybody actually comes to work trying to do a good job.
Absolutely.
Let's talk now about the cold storage facility. You told me about this before, and you gave me the background to why you choose to do this, because you had an idea that you initially should handle it manually.
Yes.
But you decided not to. How is the background?
We saw the potential of growth in the category, and the assortment that is frozen in store is constantly growing. It's a way to minimize waste because it's the new fresh, so to say. And also it's about convenience, and people want to have Asian food frozen and all kinds of foods frozen. And so the assortment is exploding. And then we also have a lot of business outside, so to say. So it's direct flows to stores, which is in some cases we can do more efficiently combining with our own assortment that's runs through our logistics operations today. So we had a strong business case of kind of expanding the assortment, expanding the volume, and bringing in some volume that we don't have today. And then the manual was not sufficient, and we, given the size of the business now, we thought that automation would be perfect for this.
And when you choose TGW, why did you do that? What were their strong?
I think we had different options, but what I did like with this solution was that it felt very robust, and when you go into the building, you really see a clear flow. Now when I'm there, I'm very happy. I can understand it. It feels very logical, and it's smart in the design and layout. And then, of course, we knew from references also that TGW had successful projects in a frozen environment before. Now it's very cold. It's -25.
Yes,
and that's not everybody have a track record on that. So that was also, of course, we needed some evidence from the past.
And almost all of it is automated.
Yes, almost. I would say 85-90%. We have some things that is fully automated. We have some things that are semi-automated, and that's for campaign volumes, where we kind of can bring full pallets and just pick them quickly when it's a lot. And then also the loading from outbound to trucks is also, for example, manual work to kind of take the roller cage and get it into the truck.
Still, the loading is often not automated, but do you have ideas for the future about doing this in a more automated way, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, if you went back even 10, 15 years ago, there was, particularly in Holland, there was a few companies that were trying to specialise in it. The problem is nobody's as yet got it to the point where it's robust enough at volume. So can it work? Yes. Can it work for the next 24 hours with no problems? Not yet. Okay. But it's an area of development, and you've got some new entrants to the market, some very big companies who are starting to look in that area as well, because it's the untapped area. The problem comes is it's like the inbound is the filter. So what you're bringing in your supply chain, which comes from a multitude of different suppliers, and everyone's got their own standards. So effectively, it's when you're in the car industry, the supply chain behind the car industry is aligned under standards of deliveries that really are robust. In retail, it's not quite as clear cut.
No.
You know, the Coca-Colas of the world deliver like Coca-Cola are going to deliver, and Kellogg's deliver like they're going to deliver.
Yeah.
So it's the first filter process, and that's what makes for grocery the challenge for unloading. Yeah. But it's close. It's very close. So you'll see in the next 5 years, you'll see robust answers being provided to unloading.
Where are you right now in the project? You started 2022, and now it's 2025.
Yes.
So when are you ready to start up?
Testing will be in the fall, and then the first outbound orders delivered to store will be in Q1 2026.
Wow.
So that's it's getting closer.
Yeah.
Very exciting, and it's a lot about the testing, and we're talking about the roller cage fill rates, how to pick and how to design the orders together.
And
you're on schedule and on budget?
Yes. We're on schedule. If you what I think most people don't get, if you went in the facility today, it's physically built. It's there.
It's very, very cold.
Yeah, it's cold. It's cold, and you can walk around it. Where we are, we're in something we call commissioning. So it's all physically built, but you've got to get the electrical systems and the mechanical systems and the software systems. We're doing the interface testing and all the sort of sectional testing. So you do a section, then another section, then a module, and then a system, and we're doing that between now and the fall. So we're doing this commissioning phase. But if you were there today, you would look at it and go, it's there, it's built. But it's this commissioning and testing phase, because it's a bit like building a nuclear submarine. These things, by the time you built them, are kind of complex, but then you've got to get all the systems to work together, and then you've got to get them to flow and into it. You've got to bring them to life. Yeah.
The submarines take about 20 years to build, I think.
Yeah, we're much quicker. We're much quicker. We're far more efficient. Yeah.
So let's talk about the money here.
Yes.
Just briefly.
Yes.
Because all these investments in automation are very costly.
It's a big building, and it's a lot of steel. And it's a lot of technology, yes.
And qualified people and so on and so forth. And I sometimes talk about the ROI and how you calculate this. You must do very thorough business cases around it, but it seems from an outsider that it must take many years to really get the money back, so to speak.
Yes, of course. It's a lot of money, and you need to have a business case that you believe in over time. And it's also, but then it's also these aspects of what kind of operations do we provide to our organization. But if I would say I would take a warehouse and I would just take the current volume and make an automated warehouse, the payback time would be maybe 6-7 years on that investment. What we do now is that we take an investment for future volume growth, because we want to grow. And the volume growth and the business is always uncertain. So it's a bet that you take, and you take a bet on growth. And then you kind of have a little bit of a longer payback time.
And how is the grocery market growing right now? Is it growing?
It is growing. It's historically, we had a very solid pace at about 2 to 3% growth in volume. Then the pandemic came, and it was suddenly 8% growth, and then the pandemic went away, and then we had inflation, and then the volumes went down. But now again we're on a growth. So of course we believe in growth.
What about the need for competencies and workers within this new facility? There's still need for people.
Yes, absolutely.
But often we talk about the need for upskilling or reskilling or getting in new competencies, perhaps more qualified competence. How do you see this?
I think that's you need the difference is when you're looking for a manual warehouse, you're looking for leaders, and you're looking for teams of people that can lead people. And when you build an automated facility, what you need is the mindset of people who can lead people that lead automation and software.
Yeah.
So you're looking to skill people to optimize and gain efficiencies from software processes and from machines. So that doesn't mean you don't need people. You absolutely need people to make the best decisions. People are brilliant at solving problems. And with the best flow in the world, there are always exceptions. There are things that, there are glitches in software. Even your iPhone has bugs in it that need to be sorted, processed. And so you need people who are great problem solvers, first of all. And that works on a mechanical level. So we need people who support the machine. So rather than doing the picking, the machine does the picking. What we need is people who make sure the machine is ready to do the picking. Yeah. So, we need people who are maintenance engineers. We need effectively data scientists. We need people who think about how the process, the numbers are working, is everything flowing. So the skills become a lot more about diagnosis and problem solving.
Yeah.
But on a mechanical level and a software level.
And on this particular site, will you have your own team there taking care of it? Or?
Yeah, working with ICA.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where you end up with this separation. The operation, what you really want to do is flow material through it. Products. And if you keep that as an end goal, so you want what comes in to go out. Yeah. And then how's that achieved? Well, it's achieved through the machine, it's achieved through the software, and it's achieved through the operational excellence. And the operational excellence is people on the site as well. And that's, we don't make so much of a separation. So the way we've approached it with ICA is, look, the whole thing needs to holistically work together. So it really is a partnership. And the way we structure there are contracts and LOIs. We have to have all those things as well. There's a good relationship. But you want to structure it around the overall end goal is getting the product out the door. And that's the way we've approached doing this, rather than my contract says I'm responsible for this nut and bolt. Now you need to take off the foil or deal with the problem. We deal with the problems, we get the products out the door.
Yeah. We make customers happy.
Yeah. Because that's it. The whole purpose of it is servicing the stores. Yes. Yeah.
And how do you see this? Will you have some people working in the cold store, in the 25 minus degrees?
Yes, there will be some people working with ICA as well.
And how do they dress up? Do they have furs or something when they go into the...
They have no furs, suits. But it's thick jackets, gloves, face masks sometimes.
And of course, I mean fake furs.
Yeah.
No real furs, if there were any.
Just an interesting matter. There are practicalities of -25 that people don't realise. So
we realise up here.
I mean it's quite normal. But if you went out with your pen, ink freezes at -25, so you can't write with a pen. But if you take in a standard computer, standard laptop, it will freeze and it literally won't work. So the equipment, even in working, is completely different.
That's a challenge. Do you have any facilities that you've built around the world that is totally automated? No people within the warehouse?
So the concept of the dark warehouse effectively has been muted around, and lots of the e-com warehouses were called dark warehouses originally, or dark stores. Dark stores, that was the term. But in reality, it still doesn't. It's that unloading and loading, and there's aspects of exceptions. So there's still, we call them not okay stations. There's that filtration of, there's an exception, we need to deal with it. How do you reintroduce it? Check the product. There are still, those aspects still exist in every warehouse I've ever been in 30 years. So not yet, but the amount, when you look at this facility, it is to the 90% level of automation. So, it's that last 10% that still needs to be automated. And it probably will be in the next 10, 15 years. I think effectively they become factories. Yeah. So it's akin to a factory more than people would think about a warehouse. So it's, huge volumes thrown through, because the facilities are bigger. nearly all automated facilities now have got bigger and bigger footprints because the centralisation costs, particularly with freezers, there's economies of scale in it being bigger.
Yeah.
Not just in the automation, but in the power consumption of freezers. The bigger it is, the less power it uses per product.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's not that a dramatic thing anymore to think about a warehouse with very little people in them. I mean, if you compare it to manufacturing business, for instance, manufacturing entity, it becomes more and more like that.
Yes,
So,
it's something that we've seen for a long while. So I don't think it's a dramatic thing at all. It's natural, and it's part of the evolution, I would say.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for a very insightful and nice discussion, Emma Lindström and David Hibbett. Thank you.
Steve.
My pleasure. Thank you.